Hey Ummas, welcome to the Old Umma Club. I'm Joyce.
And I'm Sophia.
We are two friends in Los Angeles who had so many great coffee chats about our love for Jesus, being Korean in biracial marriages, and having kids mid-career, mid-30s. So we decided to turn it into a podcast.
So grab a cup of coffee and join our conversations about aching backs, motherhood, marriage, Jesus, and everything in between. You ready?
하나,
둘,
셋, let's go!
Let's go.
Hello Ummas!
Hey.
We are back with episode 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3 is about
Personal needs and desires.
and how they've changed over the years as we become mothers, and also even how they've changed with each additional child.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, buddy. Oh, big cough. If you can't hear that, my Owen, my little one. Oh, sorry, bud. I just hit his head with onto my headphones. He'll be joining us for this talk too. But what are Omla's personal needs and desires? The journey. We kind of touched on this on the previous episodes, so it's been kind of a little bit of a lead up to this conversation. We touched on it with a previous episode.
Yeah. You talked about how you are still trying to figure out who you are. And I guess you kind of have to know that before you really know what your needs and desires are.
Yeah. Like I'll start off with it because I talked on it a little bit earlier. But ultimately for me, like figuring out my personal needs and desires has been a journey since I had Kian, which is my oldest kid. So 4.5 years of trying to figure this out. And with each child, I feel like I've had a whittling or perhaps like maybe a reprioritization of needs. Because I have to say with like every child, there should comes more load and more demands on the family as a husband and wife, as individuals and the kids, and each kid has their own needs. And so realistically, the needs and desires that I had before having kids really just isn't like practical and functional now as a mom of 3. And like with each child, I've had to kind of shave it, but I've only had 1.5 years, 2 years really of being able to process that between each kid. And so it's been constantly evolving. And I think for me, when I really realized, wow, I really actually don't know what my desires are or things my interests are now. Before I had my 3rd kiddo, when Tyler and I used to have alternating weekends off. And Tyler always had his kind of things that he did that was life-giving. And then when it was my turn, I never knew what to do that was going to be life-giving for me. And I would just be like twiddling my thumbs, like my desires. And I think part of it is because I don't really have that much time to myself. So I think like when I do get time to myself, it feels weird because it's like too many options. You know, it's like too many choices. Like you're trying to plan a dinner with a friend and you're like, what are you craving? And you're like, I actually have no craving. And it makes planning dinner so much harder, right? Because you don't have a craving. So you're like, there's too many options. And I feel like that's like with me of like, well, I could go shopping or I could go do exercise or I could go to the beach or I could listen to an audiobook because I don't actually read physical books or I could get my nails done. Like I don't know. And I get like option frozen. I forgot what the term is.
You really have to make so many decisions in your life. So
Yeah.
like, you already hit decision fatigue.
Yeah.
But I think we should talk about the difference between personal needs and desires, because if you were able to whittle down and carve out certain needs that maybe they weren't really needs in the first place, but more desires.
Yeah. What would you say your actual like needs would be?
I would explain needs as something that's quite essential. Like if you don't meet this need, then you are going to starve, whether it's spiritually, mentally, physically, or emotionally. And then desires would be things that would be nice to have and would be your interests, would be what maybe adds sprinkles to your basic cupcake.
I love that. What's the cherry on top?
Like if you want to make a cupcake, you need eggs,
Flour.
oil or
Yeah.
butter, flour, baking powder, salt, And then that's pretty boring and plain just by itself. And then to make it come to life, you put blueberries or chocolate chips or sprinkles or whatever it is, right? So that's how I would differentiate needs and desires.
Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. I think for me, like even coming down to my basic needs, I have a hard time because I think, especially when you're in like this newborn phase, like the only thing I can think about that's like a basic need that I want is I just want to sleep
Yeah.
all the time. And I just want to eat all the time because of breastfeeding. So I think it's almost like for me, my needs right now are actual true, basic, primitive needs of like sleep, proper nutrition, and proper hydration. I'm like, I just want to be
Yeah.
able to drink water at an adequate amount, and I want to be able to eat nutritious foods, and I don't want to feel hungry all the time because I'm hungry all the time because I can't eat in a good amount of time. Even though I try to plan my meals to be at the same time as my kids, like we all know, like when you sit down and eat with a kid, like you're not
It's not
eating.
enjoyable.
You're
You're not tasting anything.
you're not tasting anything. You actually aren't really eating properly because you're taking a bite, getting up, coming back down, taking another bite. You know what I mean? So you don't get satiated because I feel like you're burning off what you just ate because you're constantly moving.
Moving. Yes. Moving, talking, shouting.
Yeah. Adjusting, like arguing, saying, no, this is my food, not your food. Like,
For us, it's always get off the table.
Yeah, mine,
But on the chair. Oh, it's my
the
trigger.
butt on the chair.
No, because Tove will climb across the table and then really just get into my face or into my food. And I don't like people's face like an inch away from mine while I'm trying to eat.
No, I mean, who does? No one, except for a toddler who doesn't have like their own.
Impulse
Yeah.
control. Yeah.
They don't know what that's like, you know?
But yeah, like what you said is correct because there are certain seasons in life when you have basic needs like sleep and nutrition, and you just won't be able to get that rest, like all of
Yeah.
that. There are certain seasons where you just won't be able to meet it to its full, the full amount that you need. You might get 4 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep instead of your full 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep, right? And so that does make it hard to really figure out what your basic needs are.
Yeah. I think that's why it's like this existential crisis of like, what do I need? Oh,
Because you're already
actually,
operating out of,
negative.
you're operating out of, yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's why it's always been like, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, perhaps I have, but like my second kiddo actually never slept through the night until he was 18 months old. So I think like those needs, like it was just pure basic needs, have been my interest and my needs, my personal interests and my personal needs of like being able to sit in a room in silence, being able to eat a meal and eat nutritious meals at an ideal amount, you know? So I think that's like really, but what it's been for me is like at the season of my life for the past 4.5 years of my life, my needs, my personal needs have really just been like being able to sleep well, being able to eat well. And for me, it's really wanting to just hit like an adequate protein and hydration intake because, you know, when you're snacking, all you're doing is you're not really snacking on satiating snacks, right? You're like trying to just like eat little bits here and there. It's primarily carbs, which isn't a bad thing for me. I love carbs. It's just you need more than carbs in life.
And it's not like a hot meal
No.
that feels nice and cozy in your
Right.
stomach. It's just
Right.
kind of like just goes through you.
Yeah. And I think my personal desires are tied in with that. Like, I would love to have a greater amount of bandwidth and thought process of being able to like cook more and being able to incorporate that. But just the way life is right now, like, and how it works, and just even for me, my desire to just be able to sit in silence, that overrides everything. So it's like the one time of day that I could be preparing for a more like detailed, intensive meal for dinner, I have to look at my priorities. And I said, like, rest and being able to down regulate myself so that I can show up for my kids on that second half of the day, which second half of the day is always the most chaotic, overwhelming part of the day. That is more of a priority for me than my interest of wanting to cook a more intensive meal. And that has taken me a lot. Like, that took me through my second kid to kind of figure that out and like my priorities are constantly shifting. So like for me on this in this conversation really is like more of the personal journey of what is my personal needs and desires, which I feel like a lot of us kind of go through that evolution. I don't know the word, but transformation, or like kind of get hit with that like crisis almost in a sense, like after you have your first kid, because you're like, holy crap, I'm my mom. And all of a sudden, and my brain works differently and priorities now shift. And now actually the things that I used to want are not as of a priority or just not realistic. And now I have to shift my own expectations. And so I think that's also really what it's been hard for me, is like my expectations have shifted with each child and with each evolution of that. And so therefore with my shift of expectations, it shifts what is really realistic in my needs and desires right now. And I think for me, I'm all about efficiency and practicality. So it's like I may have these elaborate desires, but I'm like looking at, oh, that's not happening. Maybe when the kids are like 7, 5, and 3, we can think about this, but not right now in this life where they're 4, 2, and 0. So I also want to know about you, Sophia. Like, what about like for you off the top of your head of your personal needs and desires before we dive into like, what did that happen? Right. So like, what about for you in regards to your thoughts of like your own personal needs in expansion to your personal desires and interests? Because we talk about this often in the sense of this is what I want, but this is not what is happening. But also this. And so what about for you?
Yeah, I mean, basic needs that everybody has: sleep, good food, proper rest. But I think in addition to that, there is a certain need that we also have where we need to have that met in order not to meet burnout
Mm-hmm.
and to hit overcapacity to the point where you're not a good mother anymore. You're not showing up as your full best self to your kids, and you're actually just reacting and reacting
Yeah.
instead of responding well.
And by good mother, it's more
Um,
of like being the mom that you truly want to be, right? Because I think I feel like there's very few actual true bad moms, but all of us are good moms that
yeah,
are really trying our
I
best,
agree.
you know?
I've never met a mother whom I don't know to be doing her best.
Yeah.
We all might be making a lot of mistakes in a lot of ways, but every single mother I know, I see, is just trying her best to the best of her capability.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think having a baby is so different from having slightly older kids,
Mm-hmm.
like 3-year-olds and a toddler or a preschooler. As a baby, what sucks your energy is more physical, like a sleep. Maybe the constant breastfeeding,
Mm-hmm.
the nonstop cycle of wake activity, and then feed, and then sleep, like that whole cycle, right? That is constantly shifting. There's a lot more physical expenditure of energy. And then as those kids get older, there's more added to that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a bit more predictable nap schedule, or maybe like for my oldest, he's not napping anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the emotional needs get more complicated and more mature. And then they start talking and communicating their needs. There's a lot more energy expenditure that is emotional and mental.
Mm-hmm.
And the more my kids grow up, the more I really feel the need for silence. And not even just external silence, but even just a moment for my head to have a pause
Yes, I get that.
where I can sit and finish a paragraph in my head. And the constant interruptions and the constant distractions is what really sucks me dry.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like I said, the second half of the day. Yeah. And I think relationally too, my needs have changed in terms of what I feel like I need from my husband and my partner.
Yeah.
I think that also has changed. Like with my first, when he was a young baby, just I need physical support.
Yeah.
I need him to show up. I need him to do this, do that. And then as my kids get a bit older, and there's a lot more complicated parenting decisions to be made, I realize from him right now, what I need, in addition to the physical support, is emotional support.
Mm-hmm.
Like assurance that I'm doing a good job.
Right.
Or just like being involved and interested in what my day is like. so that he really understands what it takes to raise our children and sharing some of the decision making and just a lot more empathy. We talked about how with each child you gain more confidence as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think I'm actually losing confidence with each child as the kids get older because there are a lot more parenting moments that I don't know the answer to.
Mm.
And I'm kind of floundering with it. And I'm constantly self-doubting the way that I've never self-doubted with my first when he was very young, when the goal is just to keep him alive. Keep him alive and healthy. It was very simple. And then now it's like, how do I teach him discipline? How do I provide the right kind of boundaries? How do I not become a permissive parent? How do I not become an overbearing parent? How do I rein in my own need for control? Every single moment is a decision that feels very impactful to the rearing of my children. And so that kind of decision fatigue and also the constant self-questioning and self-doubt for me is so taxing. I need someone to walk alongside with me. And I don't want anybody else except my husband.
Right.
Because he's my co-parent. He's my partner. So that kind of relational needs have shifted for me.
Yeah, the relational needs definitely shifts with each season. I totally get that. And I think it's so unique to each marriage, right? Because it really just depends on the dynamics, what either parent is truly not just what they want to be capable of, but like what they truly are capable of, right? Based on jobs, time, financials, all of that. And it's so special. Like whatever Tyler and I are doing doesn't mean that it's applicable to you and David. And it doesn't mean that what either of us are doing are applicable to you guys who are listening to us. Like it's something that really does need a lot of collaboration between the two and self-evaluation. But that can only happen if both are actively doing it together or there is a clear understanding of roles. And I remember that too. Like with Tyler, it became more and more clear after having my second and definitely with my third of my need of needing him to reassure me. Like as Korean person, wife, I am like when we first did our first marriage counseling, they make you do like the love language test. And Tyler and I were complete opposites. So mine was like quality time was like number one. Words of affirmation was like 0. I think I got 1. Like I marked 1 instance where I was like, yeah, I would want a word of affirmation there. But Tyler's was words of affirmation was highest and his quality time was, I think actually 0. Like it probably could have been negative. And when I had my first kid, Kian, I still desired that quality time. Like I still desired to have a certain level of quality time that was almost equivalent to what we were like pre-kids. And then having that shock of like, I can't get that, like was really, it like took me apart, right? Like, because I was like, oh, I can't get this anymore. And then with my second kid and with my third kid, with the greater amount of mental burden and load, and especially with all of my kids having, primarily my first and second, having more special needs and medical complex. So I am constantly navigating doctor's appointments like every day, every week. If I'm not calling a doctor at least once a week, it's a surprise. Constantly navigating special medications, insurance companies, all that stuff. So, you know, that invisible mental load is hard. And with each child, Tyler has become more and more involved. So the physical partnership has improved. And I think as that has improved, then like I was left with this need of like, I'm so glad you're physically there, but I need you to also just tell me like, thank you. Like I need to hear a thank you. And we've had several talks about that. And like, ironically enough, words of affirmation were something that Tyler really valued as his love language, but for him to give it is very hard. And so when I've been asking for it, he's just like, he's like, yeah, that's super fair. But it's like, it's very hard for him to be able to come up. And I think my own fault is that I want him to say very specific things.
And if he doesn't hit those marks.
Yeah. But our therapist used to also say like, you can also write what you specifically want. Or our coach was like, he had us do this after we had our second kid. And it was so helpful. This is a very helpful tip of like feeling loved and supported by my partner was he had both of us write a top 10 list of things that we can implement right now to feel loved. And even though like I think some of us are like, a lot of women I know are like, well, he should know and he should just do it.
He should.
I would say it's not fair because he's probably feeling the same thing and I'm not giving him the same thing and I don't know what he wants either, right? And so it's
That's
like,
true.
it's not reciprocated. It's not like I know what he wants and I'm often missing the mark as well. And when he's like, actually, this is what I've been wanting, I'm like, oh, I had no idea and I've been just doing this. And it's vice versa. So I've kind of taken that narrative away because I was like, as much as I used to be like, well, he should know, I've learned over the years of coaching, therapy, and just in marriage and like having kids, I was like, he just doesn't know. And it's not that he doesn't desire to know, he just doesn't know and he needs to be trained. We all need to train each other, husband and wife, in helping each other understand how to love each other and support each other and provide those needs. And I think the fault that a lot of us fall in is that we don't speak it and we just expect the other person to know. And that's really not fair. And that's how resentment and bitterness really start to build. And that's where Satan really gets a really easy foothold into marriages. So I've learned to have to kind of take away the he should. And when I hear that storyline of like, he should know, that's when I realize I'm burning out and I need help. And that's when I actually say, hey, I need this from you. I get very physically like verbal action pointed with Tyler. I'll say, I'm burning out. I need these 3 things from you. But the thing that he gave us, like he had us do, was a homework assignment, which was make a top 10 list of your needs and desires or things that Tyler can do right now at this moment, and it will make you feel loved. And so we wrote this action list, and it was very interesting because Tyler was like, doop, 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 wrote 10 things literally in 3 minutes. I was like, what the? It took me a week, y'all. It took me a week to figure out what I needed from my husband because it was so deep in me and so not something I thought about. And I was like, oh, shoot. Like, even I don't know what I want. And I'm thinking he should know? That's not fair. And so that's what I did. And it actually really helped because when he would do it, it was a key for me to be like, oh, he's actually trying to make me feel loved right now. He's telling me he loves me. And because I can tell he's doing something off the list. And it was a very clear thing for me to be like, oh, wow, he's thinking about me. That's really thoughtful. I love that. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for trying to show me that you love me. And it's like vice versa. Like same thing for Tyler. And it just makes it really easy. But even that, like even that, like making a top 10 list, I was like, I don't know what I want him to do. Action oriented, can do right now. I was like, and so yeah, the bigger things for me on my list were verbalizing. And I told him like, I just need you to say thank you for handling all the shiz you do so that all I have to do is focus about my work. Because there are times I was like, you don't know how to handle any of our kids' prescriptions. If I die today, you would not know anything about our kids medically. I'm like, you would not know what to do, how to do it, where for them to go, who their doctors are. And he's like, yep. I'm like, I need you to recognize that and say thank you to me every once in a while. And he's like, yeah, that's fair. That's actually really fair. I'm like, yeah, bro, if I die, you don't know how to take care of our kids medically. That's like, you should realize what a big burden that is on me. And he's like, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so those like needs have definitely been the shifts and the evolutions. And it might evolve again for you, Sophia, when when the 3rd baby arrives.
Probably will. But it does sound like you have at least a list of 10 things you need from Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely need to re-up that because we haven't done it in a while. But ever since then, like, again, that need has whittled down after having the 3rd child. And the only thing I really desire from Tyler is for him to just say, I love you and thank you for holding it down. Like, even me saying that right now to myself is making me cry. I'm saying, I love me. And thank me for holding it down.
You're doing a good
Yeah.
job, Joyce.
Thank you. You too, Sophia. But yeah, I think that's all I actually want. And that's all I've been telling him ever since the season of having a third child is like, I just need you to say thank you every once in a while. And for you to recognize like what I do, the invisible burden, so that all you have to do is just show up as dad. All you get to have to worry about is like showing up as dad, and you get to work without having to worry about navigating anything in regards to the functions of the household. And that's a pretty big load, you know? So what are your thoughts? It looks like you're reflecting. You're getting deep
Oh, yeah.
reflecting.
I'm thinking too that our husband themselves also needs us to tell them thank you
I do.
because we bear most of the burden and mental overload of running a household. And they also bear most of the burden of making sure that we can pay for everything we have.
Yeah, I tell that Tyler every day, like at least once a week. I tell him like, thank you so much for working so hard for our family. You're doing so great. I know that this is so stressful. And I tell him thank you at least once a week. And especially when he's had a really stressful time at work, I definitely tell him, hey, I thank you so much for putting up with this kind of stress so that I can buy the pants I want. Or not really, I don't buy anything for myself now. But I'm like, thank you so much. You know that because of you, like we can have food on the table. Because it's a very real and hard stress. Not even just the husband. Like I know a lot of friends who the wives are the financial breadwinners and the husbands are not. And
Yeah, I know a bunch too.
yeah, and it's a hard burden, you know.
It is interesting when I hear other stay-at-home dads, their complaints and their hardships are just exactly like ours.
I don't think I've had. Yeah, I'm like trying to think. I knew one stay-at-home dad, and his thing was, it was very interesting. He's like, no, he had a very man perspective. He's like, suck it up and show up as a dad. That's all you have to do. Just suck it up. Stop complaining. Suck it up. Get a schedule and show up and be a dad. And I'm like, all right, I take that too. It was pretty funny. But then his wife would tell me about like the actual stories of he's like, I just want to be alone for like 10 minutes. And she's like, yeah, okay. Let's do that. What about your interests? What about your personal interests, Sophia? Have they evolved at all? Like going from 0 to 1 and 1 to 2 and potentially 2 to 3?
I've never had the problem you had, Joyce, where if I have a chunk of time, I know exactly what I'm going to do.
Maybe it's an introvert thing.
I think so. Yeah, my interests have always been very simple and basic. So it's reading.
Yeah.
It's drawing. It is thinking and writing and journaling. And in addition to that, one day I would love to do more art and start playing the piano again.
How fun. I mean, you could also have Tove and the kids do art class. And that's part of like your homeschooling curriculum.
Yeah, right now doing art class with them is just a nightmare.
But it's cool that they have that exposure. I don't do that with my boys. I'm like, give them a pot of paint and throw them outside.
It's like 10 minutes of actually sitting down and then like 30 minutes of cleanup.
No, that's why I do it all outside and then I just leave it outside and I just hose them down outside. Maybe it's easier when I'm like, I don't have as much. I'm like, all right, you're all done. I literally hose them down. But yeah, I think that's really cool that you have a set of knowing that and that hasn't changed because that's super helpful in being able to know what you're going to do and like how you want to implement it when you get that time. Is there one particular interest that you have that like, if I'm short on time, like this is the one thing that I really want to do? Say like you only have like a 30-minute chunk of window, right? And David's like, I can watch the kids for like 30 minutes before I leave for work. Go do your thing to help you reboot for the day so that you can get grounded before the day started. What would be that one thing that you do for those 30 minutes?
You'd probably be working out.
That's not even one of the things that you listed as your interest.
Yeah, actually working out is not an interest for me, it's a need.
Right. But of your interest list, what would you choose?
30 minutes.
If you had 30 minutes.
I would just go lock the door to my bedroom and just sit on my bed and read.
just like decompress as much as you can, basically.
Yeah, I think one of my needs is definitely feeding my intellectual side. Like I need to be thinking about something that is beyond motherhood.
Yeah. I feel like that's a very introvert thing too, because Tyler's, when he has time and he can decompress a little bit between kids or like work stuff, he's constantly reading something. Like he's either constantly going through the Times or he's reading on the current posts or watching like a YouTube video learning about something. And I'm like, what are you watching? But okay. He's like, or he'll like kind of sit and like let his mind wander about learning. He's like, what do I want to learn about? Oh, I want to learn about clouds. And then he'll like deep dive, and he's deep dived for like half an hour on clouds.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the needs that we have. It's just the mental stimulation. What about you, Joyce?
I think that's the hard thing is like for me, I think if I had a 30-minute chunk to do nothing or to do whatever I wanted to do, I would probably sit in silence by myself with a dark room.
Just staring into the darkness.
I would probably lay down on the floor and stare at the ceiling and ground. And then probably like go on my phone. Because I think the hardest balance for me right now is that I am an extrovert, but I think research has also shown as you age, you start to become more introverted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And becoming a mom where it truly taxes all of your extrovertedness. Like I do crave more times of just silence. I'm sure everyone knows this. Like the moment you put your kids down and you actually finally get silence in the house, like you hear the weird ringing in your ears, like I hear ringing in my ears.
I hear weird tones.
Yes.
Like weird musical tones that go over and over. I'm like, am I going crazy?
No, that's normal.
I think it's just like the sudden silence is so abrupt and it's also so unfamiliar that suddenly you're just hearing things. Weird music.
I actually heard about this, but I forgot. I had to re-look it up. But it's a thing because I hear like musical tones too.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about the way your brain is processing the silence. And so it's like, it turns into that. But yeah, like I hear like a ringing, it goes, "Eing," and then it'll start creating kind of like musical tones of the silence. But yeah.
Mine sometimes like, dun, 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 dun. And I don't know, it might be from one of the kids' music.
Yeah, you're like replaying something from the kids' toys. You're like doing it. But yeah, so I try to ground as much as I can. So I'll like put pressure on my back. I lay on my back. I usually do stretches because it's very grounding for my body and my nervous system. So I think the tricky thing for me is I'm a very physical person. So I think that's what's hard is like I have to balance a little bit of this grounding plus the physicality and the extrovertedness I get through my kids in a sense, but also the extrovertedness is different needs obviously as an adult versus when you're with your kids as a mother. Like I still crave talking to other people. But which reminds me, I think if I had those 30 minutes to Tyler's like, you could do what you want, like whatever, I probably wouldn't do like a hard workout because I think that would ramp up my nervous system. I would actually just do a very slow, very intentional mobility flow and just kind of lay on the ground and meditate before I start the day. Because otherwise, if I feel hurried going into the day, that hurriedness is a strong undertow and sets a tone for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate starting the day with a hurry, which is all of motherhood. But you can like kind of start a little slow, find a way to be intentionally a little slow. But actually, I just realized maybe a personal need that I've probably really been craving as well is a deeper sense of community and friendship. Mm-hmm. I don't know about for you. Maybe it's also part of it is because I've only actually been here for as long as I've been married. So I haven't been to LA in a long time. And I moved to LA just before COVID shut down. So like building community has been delayed. Granted, I had a history already, but it was just, we lived a lifetime before I moved back. So it's like, it was 6 years. So a lot of people I knew and stuff had already left. The community was definitely different. And I moved into a different part of town and it's very different moving back when my community had always been like kind of associated with church and school. Now it's like my community. Mm-hmm. I was just actually talking about that yesterday with Tyler and how I was like, other than like you and B and Steph, like my like other best friends, it's just like I don't really have people reaching out to me. And I'm always the one, and I know I'm saying the word always, which might sound like an exaggeration, but it's true. If you look through the text messages, more often than not, I am the one reaching out to initiate some sort of connection with another person to hang out with. And it's typically not always reciprocated. Like yesterday, I reached out to a couple of people and I was like, hey, like, love to get like a play date set up. And they're like, it's like, are you guys free? And they're like, oh, both of them on their own text were like, oh, I'm going to be out of town. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be out of town too. And that was it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, like, you know, if you're free, like, let me know. Like, we'll love to set up something. And they're like, thumbs up. And they're like, okay, no.
That's very discouraging.
It hurts. Yeah, it hurts. And so it's like,
there's no like, hey, I would love to get together.
Yeah.
But right now it's not a good time. Let me get back to you.
Yeah. Or they're like, yeah, I'm gone next week, but you know what? We're free the weekend after, right? And that's where I've been experiencing a lot of like reaching out to people is like kind of this like fall flat. Or they'll say like, oh yeah, let's do it. And then like we set up a date, but it's not then reciprocated back of like, hey, like, oh, we're free on this weekend. Let's set up a play date or let's hang out and grab dinner or stuff. And I think like a deeper mom community, I think is like really what I'm desiring. And that's something that Tyler and I have really wrestled through. And Tyler was like, well, at least we have each other forever. And I was like, no, we don't. I was like, I don't want it to be just you. I don't want it to be just you. I was like, I know you're an introvert and you're okay with that, but I'm not. I'm not okay with it being just you.
I mean, even though I am an introvert, I do feel that. I do feel you in that, Joyce. I think a deep, rich community is a need.
Yeah.
And not just a
desire. Like it truly is necessary. And I think I find myself feeling really jealous. Not jealous.
Envious.
No, you know what? I feel grief. I feel sorrow when I see other people having that. And I think part of it is because it really triggers old childhood memories.
Oh, yeah. Of being left out, right?
Of being left out, of being bullied. For me, I moved a lot. So always being the new kid is also very hard.
Yeah, I was that way too. We moved every 2 years and then we moved overseas.
Yeah. And it's hard. Like you're kind of always a new kid. And it's a resiliency in the sense of like you learn how to be versatile. You learn how to be able to pivot. You learn amazing people skills because you have to be adaptable to be able to make these new friends. But friendships never get to be deep. So you also don't get to learn what it means.
Practice deep friendship. Yeah, long-lasting friendship.
And I actually never developed really a true deep friendship until I was almost in grad school. Like really Tyler and one other friend, my friend Joyce, whose name's Joyce, are the only two people really that I keep up with from college. Like, and Tyler ended up marrying, so now we have no choice but to, you know, be connected. But like, you know what I mean? Like deep friendship in wise, because I moved so much. And so in my mind, I thought, oh, when you shift grades or when you shift schools or you shift location, you just drop your previous friends and you make new ones, because that's just what I always did growing up. And it wasn't until I was almost in grad school where I was like, no, I don't want to do that anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But also, unfortunately, friendships are also seasonal as well. And there's very few friendships that actually do stand the test of time. And it takes a lot of work on both ends for it to be able to stand the test of time.
Yeah, I think with moving so much as a kid, I've always learned to not hold friendship very tightly.
Yeah.
And be
very loose.
It's okay for me to like let go.
Yes.
And let friendships ebb and flow.
Yes.
There are friendships that come back over time too. And that's how friendships are.
Yeah. And so it's a good skill in the sense of like when some friendships do leave, you're like, all right, you know. But it also is like, oh, but I actually do want to learn how to have a deeper, more full connection. And I think when you do get a taste of it, it's really hard to like let
that slip, because then it's hard to find.
Yeah. And I had that when I was up in the Bay. And I think that was what I grieved when I moved down, was the community that I had to say goodbye to. And that was what I was most sad about. And, you know, it was all in good timing, because even when I look back at the community that was up in the Bay that I had at that time in life, it's completely disbanded. Like it would not have been the same. But I think when you have a taste of that, you're like, your heart yearns for that again. And it may not be realistic, and it may not be a very realistic expectation. And so I've really whittled it down. But I was talking to B about it last night, and I was like, my heart was feeling really heavy about it. And she's like, maybe we're just not being realistic about our expectations. And I said, a reciprocating friendship, relationship is actually not much to ask for. Like, it's not much for me to desire a person to text me back and then text me and be like, hey, I'm free. You want to go grab coffee? I don't think that's very much to ask. And she's like, yeah, that's true. I was like, we're not asking for a lot. We're just asking for someone to think of me and reach out to me. And I feel like I've been longing that for a very, that's why like our friendship is so special to me, because it was like you were one of the very few people that actually does do that, right?
Yeah, every Instagram post I see, Joyce, you're the first one I think of.
I'm like, Sophia.
If I'm mad, the first person I'm going to vent to is you. You know all my drama.
I feel so special.
Can I just tell you about my demon child, Uri? She's straight out demon child right now. That was actually what I was going to text you today, but then I got distracted by this demon
But the demon distracted you from being able to vent about the demon.
Oh, gosh. Yes, exactly.
I know. I don't know. Like, I mean, actually, Tyga's, he's definitely my Sour Patch Kid. Like, he's so cute. But then I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, the fury and the anger that comes out. I know.
Yeah, Uri is so adorable. But then she wakes up screaming her head off. And I'm like, you're cute even when you're screaming, but my ears hurt and I'm about to scream as well.
Yeah. You're like, let's just all scream together.
Yeah. But let's talk about then. What is our non-negotiable needs?
Yeah.
I think it's good to have a list of that, just the non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Besides for sleep, just the
basic actual
Bible
life.
ones. What are some of the non-negotiable needs that you have identified?
Yeah.
And you might not meet them yet, but you are actively praying about it and trying to meet it.
I think finding a much more rich spiritual life, however that looks, and that's realistic in my life. And I'm not going to hold myself to be like, I have to read the Bible every day, because I think sometimes it's just really hard as a parent. And I think being a parent is also an act of worship and a connectiveness of Holy Spirit, because what's more self-sacrificing than being a parent?
It's actually working out the scripture in practice.
Yes. Self-control. Oh, so much self-control. So much repentance. But I think finding a more regular practice of connecting with God is really what I desire, or like a need. Exercise, because that is just a base that is important foundationally for us as humans, and community. And I think those have been the three things that have been on my mind, at least in this current season of life. Of I'm like, those are things that I absolutely have to have and need. And my heart is always kind of like, oh, figure out what we can do to get that going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm very similar to you. Like, number one is definitely my walk with God. And that looks different now. Like, I remember before Tove, I would be spending an hour to study the Bible and highlighting, writing, and all of that. I just don't have that bandwidth right now. But my struggle, though, is how to make it part of my life and make it a top priority rather than something I sprinkle in and add in because I have to, you know? I do listen to a daily devotional podcast, but then also one of the ways that God speaks to me is really reading the Bible with my kids.
Yeah.
And talking about the children's Bible, the Jesus Storybook
really
Bible.
Nice
and
way of
God
getting
actually
that in.
God really talks to me during that. Like that, and also each moment with parenting is a practice in on your knees prayer.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's so much repentance. There's so much repentance.
So much knife
And
sharpening
then working
knives.
that fine line, especially from working that fine line between just wallowing in self-condemnation and actual repentance. There's a big difference there, but sometimes they look similar.
Yeah.
So working out that difference. And then need for rest. I think that's something I'm still struggling with. And because there was this one day, I mean, I've been overexerting myself to the point where my back injury came flaring up. But I was like, okay, today I'm going to take a rest. And everything fell apart because we did a nap. So there was just like, I had all this plan to rest that just didn't even happen. And then, once you start vacuuming, like, why not vacuum the whole house? Like, oh, once you start wiping a counter, it's like, why not wipe this whole thing? Like, you
You're
just
like,
kind of keep
while I'm
going.
here, that phrase is dangerous. While I'm
Yeah.
here,
While I'm crawling on the floor, why don't I
why
pick
don't,
up all the
yeah,
pieces of
what am
apple
I
that my
thinking? No,
kids
just stay
spit out? Yeah.
focused.
Yeah, I think like working in moments of true rest is really hard for me because I'm the kind of person where every minute has to be some sort of productivity. Either there has to be
I
some sort of
see.
self improvement project or like improving my children, educating my children, like something. There always seems to need to be an explicit goal. And sometimes, you know what? The explicit goal should just be to rest.
Yeah.
And rest for me very often blends with productivity. Like,
Yes.
oh, my rest would be cooking while listening to a podcast about Jane Eyre because I want to like learn more about, literature. That's my idea of rest. And then I'm wondering, hey, why am I so tired?
Yeah. Why am I so
Uh,
overstimulated?
yes, because I'm doing multiple things at once, you idiot.
Yeah.
So
I
the
get that.
rest part is something that I'm still very much actively working on. And then another non-negotiable need is like once or twice a month, I have friends whom I meet up with.
Yeah.
And without my kids, just fellowship. Just like
Freedom.
this pure liberty of or like, sometimes you're carrying so much and there are things that only your girlfriends can carry with you, not even your husband. Because he doesn't have that feminine language
And
to
griping just does
like
not do well with your husband sometimes. You
no,
need it with
no,
your like
yeah.
girlfriends.
Yeah, exactly. So like that, I love when I meet up with my girlfriends and then I come back home feeling like someone took the load off my shoulders.
Yeah.
And it was just a conversation where you're sitting side by side going, me too.
Yeah.
It's just like C.S. Lewis said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. And then I think one really, I mean, I mentioned this, but just the intellectual and creativity outlet.
Yeah.
I have been really trying to like put down the laundry, maybe not wash the dishes right away, but even just prioritize like sitting down for 5-10 minutes to journal. I know that's not your favorite thing, but for me, it's been such a healing process being
I
able to
know.
do that.
I think that's great for you.
Yeah, great for me. Yeah, but that's personally
Yeah, but
one
that's
of the
great.
needs for me is to be able to process the many thoughts that I have in my mind and just be able to write it down and then to be able to have God speak into it. Like,
Yeah.
that's not from me. That's not from me. No, I'm going to talk to you through this.
Yeah.
And let's process this further.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah.
I also did forget to mention time with my husband. I'm like, oh, that is, as we've talked about before, I was like, your marriage is a foundation of your ability to parent.
Okay. Can I just confess though? It is a need working in the marriage, but it doesn't feel like a need sometimes. Like yesterday, I was solo parenting at night. David went out for a work meeting and I'm finally sat down. I'm reading my book. David comes up to me and sit right next to me. And he was like, you don't want to spend time with me? And I'm like, no, go away.
I think that's different. End of day spending time is, I think it's so different. Well, Tyler and I had to really work out that too, because I used to do that to Tyler. We were flipped in that role. And then it would drive Tyler insane. And I would just talk to him while he's playing video games and he would just go, I was like, all right, dragon, breathing fire at me. I guess you don't want to be with your wife. And
That sounds like me so much. Tyler and I are so like in that way.
And so we've worked it out where like he gets his alone time for like an hour, hour and a half, and then it's us time. But realistically speaking, that has changed a lot for us too over the years. I mean, like for me, is like actually having a really good date night, whether it's day or like quality time without the children when you're actually happy, not mad at the end of the day. Because I feel like our partnership does do better when we actually do get to have, and it's sometimes we get it once a month, sometimes we get it once a quarter. But when we actually do get that time to be able to connect, I do see it like trickle into our marriage because we've had a time to connect as a partnership,
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I used to think date nights were just one of those like nice to have.
Right. But it's become essential now.
We try our best to have date nights twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I resisted because it's so much money. Just paying for
babysitter. Yeah.
babysitter to come, and then going out to eat. Like the expenses made me very reluctant. But that was so dumb of me because you're one day gonna have to pay for marital therapy if you don't go on date nights,
Yeah,
and that's gonna cost
therapy is
thousands.
way more expensive.
And I would rather go out and have
A good
fun
meal, right? At least you're eating.
than like have to work on therapy.
You're not eating and talking to a person for an hour, paying them hundreds of dollars.
What you said about the trickle down effect really does have made a difference in our marriage.
Yeah.
I would say, like, even when we go out and we don't even talk about anything deep.
Right.
We're not like, how can I love you better? Like, we don't really talk about those things. We just talk about garbage. We just talk about random
It's because
stuff.
you don't have time or bandwidth to
Yeah.
do that when you're with your
Yeah.
kids, right?
And that's friendship, right? You're just like talking live or talking like about just whatever you read
Yeah.
on an article or like whatever you
Yeah,
saw on
chit-chat.
Instagram, whatever. Yeah, it's just chit-chatting,
Yeah.
and that's building the foundation of a friendship.
Yeah. Because that's what's really going to take us through the lifetime and the phase of the hardships of marriage. You know what I mean? I remember they did a marriage season at Reality SF and they had like different couples come up. And I just remember I was very single during that time of my life. Very single.
Oh, those days.
Those were fun days.
Those bygone days.
I had the time of my life. I said it to Tyler and Tyler was like, oh, because you know how to.
You had the time of your life, as in we had so much time. I cannot believe how
Dude.
much time I had before.
Yeah, but I like made the most in my 30s before I got married. Let me tell you that. I made sure I lived YOLO before I got married. Tyler was like, no, that was not me. I was like, I lived YOLO. But all that to say, I just remember the biggest takeaway of them is like saying the misconception of love is that everyone in this current culture thinks love is a feeling. And so everyone chases the feeling. But in reality, and even biblically, when you look at it, love is a choice and you have to actually actively choose. And this couple was very real about talking about how they were very much in the process of getting a divorce and then they didn't, and they reconciled. And it was really just realizing that it's a choice. You have to choose. And there are going to be some seasons, they're like, you're going to fall out of love and you're just going to have to actually dig your heels into the faithfulness and the commitment and the covenant. And they're like, and it'll come back. They're like, but that's the thing is like, everyone thinks that you should always feel lovey-dovey throughout the entire season, entirety of a marriage. And they're like, and that's not true. And I think maybe if there's someone listening here who just is maybe feeling that, especially I think once you have kids, that is a big shock because your sense of love also changes and the way you love your husband feels really different and really unfamiliar. It can feel like you've fallen out of love with your husband. And that's not it. It's just the season has taken away certain things, but ultimately that's normal and it's okay. And it does not mean your marriage is unhealthy. It just means that it's a tough season. But you guys, as long as you're committed and sticking to the covenant, just know that with time, it'll come back. And I think that has always been something that has stuck with me and has given me hope. And so I think it made it a little easier when we did have really hard times in our marriage for me to be like, this is just a tough season. Nothing's wrong with our marriage. This is just a tough season and we'll be okay.
Okay, then what about personal desires? What are some personal desires that you think that realistically you can start slowly adding into your life?
I will let you know when I figure that out because I really don't know. I think I've been so focused on my needs of like, this is what I need that I haven't had a real big ability to focus on likes. Part of it, I mean, mine is like very superficial, perhaps for some people. But honestly, a big desire of mine is to redo my closet because I am the person that if my clothes doesn't make me feel good, my clothes is my personality. So it's like if my clothes is just boring athleisure, which is what it has been for the past 4.5 years, I feel like a boring person. I think it might just be like the personality that I am. And like the type of person
You like
I
to
am.
switch things out too.
I love to switch things out, which is not good for our family finances, but I just am that person. I think my mom is like that too. So I think for me, honestly, that has been like the one thing where I've been like wanting to do where I was like, this is not an absolute necessity, but I'm like, I would love to redo my clothing closet because it's all of my clothes are from pre-kids. So things don't fit well. or it's like clothes that's designed to transition from pregnancy to maternity to post, you know what I mean? Like to postpartum. So it's still like frumpy clothes. Like, and when I wear
I
frumpy
don't know. I've
clothes,
never
I
seen,
feel
dude.
frumpy.
I've never seen you in frumpy
Oh,
clothes.
well,
You
I
should see
appreciate
what I
that.
wear at home.
But
You should see what I wear when I go drop off Tove at preschool and pick him up.
oh my gosh, don't even get me started with what I look like and how I see
Like,
other moms wear
today
at school.
I wore a sweatshirt that had kimchi stains on it from 3 days ago.
Probably look like tie-dye to other people. That's what I tell myself. I'm like, no one's gonna. I was like, this
No.
blueberry stain looks like it's modern contemporary art.
Yeah, my leggings have paint on it. Yeah.
But um, that is like the one thing I just have been wanting to do is actually to redo my clothes. Being the person I am, like the physical environment has a very big impact on me. So like wanting to redo our home to make it feel like a true home and like wanting to redo my closet to feel like my closet, my clothes like actually exemplifies my personality.
Mm. Are you sure you're not an Enneagram 4?
Well, I am an Enneagram 3, so I probably have a very strong wing 4, and I think my wing 4 has really been coming out more.
Okay.
I used to be because of my physical therapy realm, so I think like I had a really strong desire to
Wing
help.
2?
Yeah, with the
Okay.
wing 2. But they also said like as you age, your wings actually flip and that you actually start tacking like growing roots and more access into the other wing as you get older. And I think I've been noticing that too a lot in me. So I think once I started having kids, I think there's been like this expansion of personality. And so I've become a feeler, which was weird.
Why is that weird? You've been a filler since I met you. You cry more than anyone I know.
I cry so much. And I said, that is what I mean. I started crying so much once I started having kids. I cry so much. I cry about everything with everyone. If someone else cries, I will start crying with them.
You're like a water balloon, just a tiny prick.
Nah, I know. It's all my childhood trauma coming out. Like a water balloon prick. Anyway, so that's me. What about you?
Personal desires, I would like to realistically be able to do more. I think, well, this podcast.
Yes, this podcast.
Working on this podcast is a joy, but also really, I mean, it's not a need, but it is something that we both really want to invest into.
Yes.
Also, I really feel this need to want to write and do more art. And I haven't been writing for a long time. And in fact, I had a nightmare one day. In my dream, I realized that I lost all my writing skills. I was like, what am I?
Well, that's an existential crisis.
Yeah. So like not personal journal, but maybe just even blogging. I don't know, like start working more on that novel I had in mind. Some sort of creativity. Yeah, that part of me is definitely been depleted.
Yeah, I feel like the creative side is very hard sometimes as a parent, especially if you're a parent who tends towards productivity and structure. I think sometimes tapping into that creativity side is like tricky because it can sometimes feel like it has to be a perfect situation to have that perfect artistic creative side. You know what I mean? Instead of it like allowing it to be a messy situation. And then you're like, but it wasn't a good solid 30 minutes. It was 5 minutes and it was not enough. Yeah, that's hard as a parent. It's like always wanting to feel like you need more of something.
Yeah, right now I try to do art with Toe while Uri's sleeping because he's actually being able to sit still for about 15 minutes. And
it'll start getting
he's
better.
actually interested in painting and drawing. And sometimes I'm a little impressed by what he actually does.
Yeah, that apple was fire.
But the only thing he wants to draw is apples right now.
Honestly,
so, okay, we just keep on drawing the
like,
apples.
He's going to learn so much art skills from that, right? Like depth and color.
Yeah, I'm teaching him shadows and also like just because the apple is red doesn't mean you only use red.
Right.
And then he's
Look
like,
for the other colors in the apple. Depth. I love it.
Yeah. So it's been fun. Like there's the creative outlet in just teaching my child to appreciate art. I think one thing is like being a parent, you just have to be creative in the ways you meet your needs and your interests.
Mm-hmm.
The way you meet them is going to look different because
Totally.
of the limitations of your time and energy and space. So that part will be a work in progress.
Yeah. And you have to be okay with it just not looking perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Ummas, on that note, I think we've concluded our episode 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Joyce, you want to pray us out?
Yeah. God, thank you so much for your creativity. When we look at the world, when we look at humankind and just the uniqueness of every person and every living creature and thing in this world, like we can see your creativity and your goodness and your desire to provide goodness in our lives. And so, God, I just ask that as we are going into our days and going into our weeks, that both Sophia and I and everyone that is listening to this podcast, that we would be reminded of our needs and our desires, but ultimately let it be aligned to you. God, that you would give us wisdom with what we truly do need and give us wisdom with our desires and helping us to be flexible and creative with how we approach those and how we collaborate with our partners in that, Lord. I just thank you for your goodness in our lives. I thank you for the joy that being a parent really does give. And that, Lord, that there is no greater refining fire than being a parent, Lord. So I just pray that we are reminded that being a parent is hard, that being an umma is hard. It is good. And it forces us to stretch in ways that we would never be stretched if we were single or without children. And in that, Father, that we would also not abandon the needs and the desires of our hearts, Lord, because those needs and desires are what you have given us, Lord, to be who we are uniquely, Lord. We thank you for your goodness and your wisdom. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, Ummas, thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye-bye.
We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you've been liking our episodes, please follow, like, subscribe, or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love to connect with you and hear your thoughts and feedback. You can find us on Instagram at The Old Umma Club or reach out to us at theoldummaclub@gmail.com. Gotta give a big thank you to Kevin McLeod for our music. Until next time, Ummas, may the Lord bless you and keep you sane, hydrated, and fulfilled the way only He can.